Hello, brilliant entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 159, so you'll find all the show notes and a special link to a beautiful freebie over at tashcorbin.com/159. Today, we are going to be talking about a very hot topic and something that's probably going to take a little digging, so settle in for this one. Maybe grab a pen and paper. I want to share with you how to start building your platform for your business in a way that is aligned with your feminine energy and in a way that doesn't require you having a super successful multi-thousand, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year business right now. You can start building your platform right now, and that's what we're going to do together. So let's get started. Okay, so where does all of this talk of platform come from, and what on earth does it actually mean? Well, this conversation started amongst the Lady Posse when I attended the Hay House Writers Workshop earlier this year. And one of the big conversations of the Hay House Writers Workshop was the fact that in order for you to be considered by a traditional publisher, you need to have a platform. And the book that was recommended by Leon there at Hay House Writers Workshop was Platform by Michael Hyatt. Now, I actually don't recommend that book. I don't really like the strategies that are shared in most of that book, and I find it very masculine energy orientated. And it's based on, some of those very outdated strategies, like, for example, go and follow 1,000 people on Twitter and they'll follow you back. It's really not the way that we do business these days. And particularly for women in business, it's not that aligned. So what do we mean by having a platform? Number one, for me, that is having an audience. That is having a group of people, a tribe, a group of people that you can go and have a conversation with on a regular basis, who actually want to have a conversation with you, who want to hear from you, who are interested in the work that you share, who are interested in achieving the outcomes that you help people to achieve. Now, one of the figures that was touted at Hay House Writers Workshop was that to be considered by Hay House in the States, you need to have a following of at least 500,000 people. Now, we have seen from Hay House authors that doesn't necessarily have to be the case in a lot of instances. But it created this overwhelming ripple throughout the audience of people going, oh, I thought having 3,500 followers on my Facebook page was awesome. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Now, what I want to talk about today is this concept of platform and dig into it a little further and see what is the platform that you actually need and how can you start building it today. So point number one that I would love to make here is that for me, the biggest indicator of that platform or that audience that you have is actually not the people following your Facebook page. It's also not the people in your group. Even though I have a group of 30,000 followers, 30,000 women now, that's not actually my platform. My platform is my mailing list. Number one, because those people who've signed up for my mailing list want to have a deep conversation with me. They want to learn from me. They're not just, oh yes, that looks interesting. They're not just, oh, that group looks interesting. My friend's in there. I'll go in there. They've actually made a conscious decision to give me their email address. And for me, that's the ultimate indicator of trust. Like if you're giving me your email address, you are trusting me to either give you some great value or not spam you, or hopefully both of the above. So for me, that's the true measure of a great platform, is the size of your mailing list and the level of alignment between what the people on your mailing list are looking for and what you actually have to offer. So that's also a good indicator of your platform as well. So, what I wanted to say in relation to the whole Michael Hyatt platform book and all that sort of thing is, whilst I don't agree with his strategies or process, I do agree that having your own platform is important. So what I thought I would do today is actually dig into 4 big key things to building your platform now, wherever you are at in business. And I also have a great freebie for you that's going to help you grow your list. Because as I said, to me, that's one of the most important measures of your actual audience and your platform. So we're going to grow your list together. So, number one, I want to say first and foremost that you do not need a giant platform of 500,000 followers in order to start making money. And this is one of those big like chicken and egg cart before the horse things that I see a lot of people get caught up in, is they think that the fastest way to make more money in their business is to get more followers. But honestly, I have women who come through my takeoff program who have under 100 likes on their Facebook page, under 100 women on their mailing list, and have already made $5,000 to $10,000 in their business. One is not a requirement for you to achieve the other. In fact, when you're in the startup phase of your business, your list size is not directly correlated to your income. That's a much more advanced strategy in business. That's a much more advanced stages of business conversation for us to be having. If you're in startup, I want you to get clients first before you focus on growing your list. So if you're not getting clients in your business right now, if you're not actually making money, if you're really struggling to get those first sales, the answer is not to create a long, convoluted funnel process and grow your mailing list. The answer is actually to find those high connection strategies that convert really quickly straight away and focus on building your list for your long-term business growth. One does not preclude you from being able to do the other. So you don't need a giant audience in order to make money. Number two, yes, growing your audience is awesome, but give it a purpose. So for example, if you had 500,000 followers on your Facebook page and you still weren't being chased down by publishers, I would say that you're doing something wrong in your business, because at the end of the day, if you've got an audience of that size, it should be converting really well, right? So if you're going to start growing your audience and you're going to start focusing on these things, give it a purpose. So for example, in the list building freebie that I've got for you, I talk about the fact that for every 100 people you bring onto your mailing list, you want to be converting at least one of those people into a sale immediately from them joining your Facebook list, or at least with your mailing list, or at least within the first couple of months. And if you don't have an upsell, if you don't have a conversion, if you don't have a purpose to that list growth, you're just building a giant list with no actual purpose in your business. It needs to actually be converting people into something. So have a think about, if you're going to be focused on building your platform, building your audience, building your list, then to what end? What is it that you're actually going to convert them into doing with you, or buying from you, or investing in terms of courses or programs or masterminds or academies or whatever it might be that you actually have to offer? So give it a short-term purpose as well as the long-term purpose of growing your platform. Number three, your email list is still your best audience. So whilst it's great to grow your list and grow your Facebook page and grow your likes and grow your Facebook group or those sorts of things, look at the correlation between how many likes you have on your page and how many people you have on your mailing list. Now, I will tell you, hand on heart, my Facebook page has less likes than my list has people on it. So my job is actually to make sure that when people do jump onto my mailing list, they're also coming and liking my Facebook page, because that's another way for us to continue that conversation. I've been really focused on growing my list so much that it's outperformed the growth of my Facebook page. Now that's starting to move in the right direction, but isn't it interesting that that's the balance that I have? For most people, they have twice as many likes as they have people on their list. And we need to actually make sure that you are converting the audience from liking your page and interacting with you there onto your mailing list. For me, the place that I want to convert off Facebook at the moment is my group. So I have a lot of people who are in my Facebook group, 30,000 plus, but my mailing list isn't actually that size. So I need to start making sure that the right people are converted from that group onto my mailing list if learning from me is a priority for them. So your email will still always be your best audience, in my opinion. So make sure that you're giving lots of time and space to growing that list, to converting people through either gated content, freebies, running webinars, all those sorts of things. We'll talk about those in the freebie. But through all of those strategies, you want to make sure that you're at least converting as many as you can onto your mailing list, because that's going to be your strongest audience. And then number four, List building strategies, i.e. audience building strategies, are different at the 4 different stages of business. So I want to talk a little bit through those 4 stages of business and how they differ. Because as I said, growing your list and looking at your conversion rates from the big list growth and stuff, that's a more advanced strategy when compared to what you do when you're in startup. So the direct sell stage of business. Stage number 1 of business, direct sell, is usually where most of the time you're selling to people directly in Facebook groups, directly in your network and your extended network, directly through conversations that you're having with people, directly straight off your Facebook page. So the direct sell stage of business is that initial stage of business where you're nailing your messaging, you're getting really clear on understanding who your target market are and where they're hanging out. You're making those conversions nice and quickly. List building in this stage of business usually comes down to 2 things. 1, people who sign up for your webinars. So that's where you're starting to really create that momentum and give yourself opportunities for the direct sell at the end of a webinar. And 2 is when people are actually working with you. So if someone signs up to work with you or signs up for a little freebie intro or, comes along and says, oh, you're amazing, and they're having a conversation with them, ask them, would you like me to add you to my mailing list? That's usually where that list growth comes from in those initial stages. So webinars and that direct conversation with people. Once you jump into the scale and systemize phase of business, then we're looking for those scaled and systemized ways of growing your list. So for example, you might be consistently putting out content and invite people at the end of each of your videos to come and join your mailing list, either by grabbing a freebie like I'm doing today, or by just saying, sign up for my newsletters. That's where I give you the most up-to-date information and you can get a great newsletter from me every week. Something along those lines. You might also do Facebook Lives where you're inviting people along to a more static freebie. Now, what I recommend when you're in the scale and systemize phase of business is keep doing your webinars regularly and then add some more disconnected freebies to the mix as well. So for example, I have webinars that I run consistently, and I also have my magnetic business ebook. I also have my list building lead magnet. I also have my Lady Posse library. So I've got a mix of different things. Some of them are live and some of them are self-study. And I have a system of getting all of them out in front of the eyes of my audience consistently and inviting them on to my mailing list. Then when you jump into the launch phase of business, then you're launching courses and programs, your lead magnets actually become one of your major sources of list growth for your business. So every time you run a launch, you're growing your list by 500 to 1,000 people, sometimes more. In between your launches, you're using lead magnets or you're using content upgrades or you're using freebies and opt-ins to actually grow your audience. So the next time you go into launch, you've got a fresh big audience that have been warmed up and ready to rock with your next launch. And then when you get into the process orientation part of business, usually where most of your list growth is happening is in those consistent Facebook ads that are rolling out and bringing people onto your list and nurturing them that way. So list growth looks different at different phases of business. And that is why I've created my special list building freebie, because I think a lot of coaches out there, a lot of strategists out there are teaching advanced list building strategies to people who are in startup, and it's not actually an appropriate strategy for the stage of business that you're in, because you haven't nailed your messaging yet. You're not 100% sure on your value proposition. You're not 100% sure what people's objections are to the work that you do. You're not 100% sure that your freebie is actually going to help people achieve an outcome. And so the way that you actually go about testing and measuring and ensuring your freebies actually work before you scale them is really crucial and important. So if that's pricked up your ears and you're interested in jumping in and grabbing my list building freebie, head on over to the show notes at tashcorbin.com/159, because this is episode number 159 of the Heart Centered Business Podcast, and you'll find all the details there. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Until next time, I've been Tash Corbin. You have been a fabulous listener. I look forward to seeing your list starting to grow exponentially, and I cannot wait to see you shine. Big love and bye for now.